welcome back, and it's time for the case study on the topic, the technological tangent infusing innovation in diversity and inclusion. To take you through it, I'd like to invite Rajeshwari Aradula, Chief People Officer, Fractal Analytics. So, Rajeshwari?
Hello there. Can you see me and can you hear me?
Very clear.
Okay, perfect. Are we good to go?
Yes.
All right. Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining this session. Let me share my screen, and I hope you can see it. Hello, can you see it?
It was.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, I thought I'll take a few minutes, 10 odd minutes, to just walk you through what how technology can be leveraged in increasing diversity. And I want to share with you a little bit of perspective on what the key core at the heart of it, what the challenge for diversity is. I am sure that you've heard of this case study of Heidi and Howard. Have you? Heidi and Howard, where there's this Columbia Business School case study where the professor, Heidi Roizen, she was a Silicon Valley, very successful Silicon Valley entrepreneur. Entrepreneur or venture capitalist, I think. So she became a case study in Columbia Business School. Students were given two sets of students. One was given this resume of Heidi, and the other was also given the resume of Heidi, except Heidi's name was changed to Howard, and the students were asked to rank them on various parameters. And as you can, as I've written here, as you can see, Howard, who had the identical resume of Heidi, was said that he is very competent, and I, as in the participant, wants to work for him, and I really like him. But Heidi, on the other hand, received a different verdict. She was said to be very competent, but people didn't like her and they didn't really want to work for her. Right? What was the difference between the two? It was a controlled experiment, so we know they were identical except for their names. Right? I'm sure that if you ask the participants, why they rated so, they wouldn't say that we have any gender bias. Right? They were not looking at it and thinking that, oh, she's a woman, therefore I should rate her like this. It's unconscious. There are certain traits that we look at and we think, oh, we form the perceptions that we do, and these are the unconscious biases. And this is the real challenge of diversity. How do we overcome these biases? This is not good or bad, but it is just our social conditioning and what we have grown up with that we need to first acknowledge, recognize, and then get over. Right? So how do we overcome these biases? And the recent Suez Canal episode gave rise to a lot of interesting memes, and I want to share with you this one, which tells you what our general problem is, what our general solution is. There is this big issue and complex issue of systemic racism, unable to integrate different kinds of people, etc. And we try to manage it with this little thing called diversity and inclusion workshop that really doesn't do anything to move the needle. So this is really the complexity of the problem. And in this kind of a complex problem, let's not look for solutions that are just so mainstream or just so common that everybody else is doing it, so let's do it. Because you can't fit a square peg into a round hole, right? One size does not fit all. And this is really what we should look at. When we're trying to solve this problem, in any way, leveraging all the tools that we have to use the insights from our data, from our context, to ask very precise questions. That is the first step to solving the problem of diversity, or enabling, really overcoming what we think of as the problems in our organizations or in our societies, of how we challenge the status quo, how we include more varieties, more diverse people into the mix. I'll give you 3 examples of how one might ask those precise questions. And all of this starts with the base of having a good data and AI infrastructure. So once you have that infrastructure, once you build it, not perfect, but good data and AI infrastructure, that's when you can start to get precise in your questions. So let me give you 3 examples here. The first one, typically we ask, how can we hire more women? Right? And I've struck that off and said, how can we attract more women? Because of the following issue. So when we started with saying, how can we hire more women, we looked at the data of who's applying and who's getting shortlisted. And we found that women had no problem. Once they're shortlisted, they had no problem getting through the interview. They had no problem being selected. That wasn't the issue. So there wasn't any bias in selection of the women. But the bias was in attracting the women. 80% of the people who were applying were male. So if that is the disproportionality of the pool that is applying, how can you expect a different result? Right? No matter how many unconscious bias trainings that you do, you're not able to get as many women members make it through that funnel. That is just not entering that funnel. So if that is the problem, then the solution isn't unconscious bias training. The solution is to attract more women. So the question, therefore, the precision in the question is, how can we attract more women? And this is perhaps because the brand image is such, the job description that we are using is that it is repelling women, or isn't just attracting enough women. So it's a idea for another talk, perhaps, of how do we improve the language to be more suitable for all for diverse groups. So the solution idea here is to change the job description, the language in the job description, perhaps change the brand positioning in a way to attract more women. So, but how did you come to that question and that solution? By looking very intimately at the data that you have collected. I'll give you a second example. We often ask the question, not enough women in leadership positions. How do we promote more women into leadership positions? What do we need to do? Will there be quotas? What do we need to do to promote more women? Well, this is what we did. If we looked at the data of how, why aren't women getting promoted? Is it because they're just, is it a pipeline issue, not enough women? Is something else? Are there biases coming up? And what we did find is, women, as women in this audience perhaps will relate to, often raise their hand for office housework, like many kinds of things, like taking meeting notes, organizing events, things like that. And these are very critical for a team to feel the sense of belonging. These are very critical softer aspects for the entire company to come together as one. But these are not usually valued. These are not usually at the top of the, unlike the revenue generating aspects where people are bringing in money, these are not usually very visible or very easily valued. So how do you, knowing that women raise their hands for more housework, office housework, knowing that it is critical for an organization's health to improve, how can you then frame the question in such a way that that work is valued? When you value that work, that's when women get more visible, and that's when this question of promoting women doesn't arise then. Then it's about valuing all work, including office housework, all critical work, and that gives a certain visibility, and naturally, therefore, the competencies of that woman are supposed to be, are seen to be as valued and therefore promotable. So the solution idea isn't, again, unconscious bias training or anything like that. It is actually to look at the competency framework and give credit for all work, to create the value system in a way, the culture in a way that you value all work, including the housework. And how did you come to this insight and this solution archetype? By looking at the data that you had, by looking at all the intimately at analyzing that data. So you had built the data infrastructure and the AI systems, and therefore you now have the insight to create the solution. And I will give you a third and final example here. Again, on hiring, how can we hire more women is the question. But this time it's, I've taken a different situation. And in this case, what we found was, in some situations, women were shortlisting was fine, but women had once they cleared the technical round, they had a higher chance of being selected. But fewer women would clear the technical rounds, whether it is testing or having some sort of a face-to-face interview round or a virtual interview round. So whatever is that sort of technical round, that is where women were dropping off more. But once they cleared it, they had a great chance of success. Now here is where there is an opportunity for actual bias to creep in. And the way to counter that bias is one solution for that is to give a resume score. For example, you've heard of resume blind studies, right? Where when the name is blind, like we saw in Heidi and Howard case, then the results are very different. Right? Women and men have equal chance of making it. Similarly, this is another idea where you can create a resume score. You can look at all the aspects of the resume, the skills, the leadership attributes, and so on, and create a score and give that score to that resume. So you're priming the interviewer, saying this is a high quality, this is a high scorer, this is not a high scorer. And with that knowledge, you have neutralized any bias that may exist within the interviewer. So that is really the nature of technical aspects that you can bring in. Remember, again, at the foundation, it is to create your data and AI infrastructure. So these three examples illustrate to us what precision in asking the questions can lead to, that what kind of precision in the solution, and therefore actual probability, actual effect of moving that needle towards having more diverse teams is possible only by increasing the precision in asking these questions. And that therefore was enabled because we already had a good, and once again, good, not perfect data and AI infrastructure. But I'll leave you with one word of caution here. Algorithms do have biases. I'm sure many of you may have seen it. Algorithms are learning from what we are feeding them. In one famous language generation algorithm, what it did was, if you sort of give as this AOC's picture, right, neck up, if you similarly gave a man's picture there, most of the time the algorithm would complete the image with a man wearing a suit. Whereas if you put a picture of a woman, even if that woman is AOC, who is very famous and well known, the algorithm would complete the picture wearing a bikini. Right? So, and why is that impression? Why is algorithm doing that? Because it has been fed that kind of data, and because it's been fed that kind of data, because that is the data we are surrounded with. Right? That is the information we're surrounded with. So it's not enough to say that we will use these algorithms, we'll use the technology to counter all biases. Technology has its biases, and we have to be watchful of that. It can go a long way in correcting them, but we have to watch for that and not blindly apply that technology. Right? There are many examples like this, but I wanted to share with you one particularly offensive one, so that the point is, point becomes immediately clear. And I will now close this with one summary slide. Once again, one size does not fit all. So whatever your technology solutions are, tailor your solutions. And three things, once again, I'd like to remind you of. First is invest in people and data infrastructure and in AI systems. Ask precise questions, and this is at the bulk of it. And you have to lay the foundation of data and look intimately at the data to be able to ask those precise questions. And then watch for algorithmic biases. We don't want any AOC situations in our corporations. So watch for that. Have an AI team that actually gets what algorithmic biases are, and therefore is able to correct for those, look for those, and correct for those. So I'll stop there with that short presentation, and I'll hand it back to you, Ankita.
Well, once again, thank you so much, Ms. Ardula. That was super insightful and indeed meaningful as well.